Orangutan? 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 Hey guys, Kathleen here. This is actually video number 3 that I'm making. Number 1, if you saw my Instagram post, was a complete bust. I recorded an hour and ended up with 0 audio. I did a test this time, so I think we're okay. I did record another one that was like a half hour long in the house, but I thought it is a gorgeous, like unusually gorgeous late June day in Colorado, and I think it was perfect to record outside. We shall see. I may end up with a blend of the two, who knows. Anyway, it's been a while since I've been here. Life, man, just life. I think it's been 6 to 8 weeks, and I've had a couple ER trips for different immediate family members, and everybody's okay. They're all fine. They're going to be fine. But it's been a tough few weeks. I did get sick in there too, and the week I was thinking about recording, I did end up feeling like I had COVID, but I was tested 4 times, and all 4 tests came back negative. So, I mean, I don't think it was possible for it to be COVID with 4 negative tests, and one of those was done at the doctor's office, swab in the back of the throat. So I just, I was just sick. And just all kinds of things happening to family members. And I had to focus my time on them and not be thinking about podcasts. So I apologize if it's been a few weeks. It was unavoidable, and I'm back. And hopefully nothing will change that. So I thought, let's catch up because it's been a few weeks. Hopefully the wind is not loud, and hopefully it doesn't blow the iPad. We shall see. But anyway, I thought we'd catch up since the last time we visited together. And hopefully, first of all, if you're a new viewer, thank you for checking this out. And if you're an OG viewer and been here for a while, man, thank you so much. I'm so glad you came back. If you watch to the end, I will be super grateful. But if you end up watching in chunks, that's how I watch them too. So, do what you do. You do what you need to do. If you do like this channel and do enjoy my videos, wait for it. I live on a street that's very commonly ridden by Harley Davidsons. It can be a challenge. If you do enjoy the videos on this channel, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me to kind of further my reach. If you like the videos that you watch, and you go ahead and subscribe and hit the little bell to make sure you get notifications every time I upload a video. So let's get started. Again, I am outside just because it's a nice day and it seemed like we needed a change of scenery. So chickens back there. Can you see them? They're like, actually they're right there. They're kind of like hiding in the shade along the fence. And it's not hot out today, so they're not hot. They just like the shade. And I put up, every year I put up that, it looks like a sail, sort of. It's like a sunshade, but it doesn't completely block it. It just shades it. And that's attached to the coop. And they're in their run. So you might see them make an appearance back there while we're visiting today. Hopefully you've got a cup of coffee or a Diet Coke or a cup of tea or a glass of water. Stay hydrated, my friends, which I will do too. And it's dry in Colorado, so you gotta drink a lot of water. Anyway, so let's talk. let's talk about what you've missed since I've been gone, or maybe what I've missed since you've been gone. Let's start with, and I am sitting at a table, so thankfully everything's right here. Let's start with, do you remember the Felix cardigan and the dilemma of the Felix cardigan? Like, it was falling off my shoulders. Oh, we probably should address this first. Today is Sunday, June 26th, 2022. Today is Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Clearly my team is the Colorado Avalanche, and I will wear the burgundy and blue. Okay, so do you remember the dilemma with the Felix sweater? It was like falling off my shoulders. I was unhappy with it, mostly because of my yarn choice, really more than anything, and really thinking, I don't think I'm ever going to wear this. So I did a little thinking about what the problem was. And part of it is the yarn choice, and it's a silk merino, or silk mohair and merino. And so it has a beautiful sheen. It's very pretty, but because of the content of the fiber, it's very heavy. And so it pulls down on the neck of the sweater. And most of the time I don't wear my cardigan buttoned up. I wear them open. And so I was really frustrated by the fact that it was falling off my shoulders, and the raglans were not they weren't laying in the right place. I was really unhappy with it. I apologize if I'm squinting, but it's bright out here. And so I did a little research and found some tutorials online, videos on YouTube, on how to stabilize basically the top part of a sweater. So this sweater is knit as one. It's a yoked sweater, and it's knit as one. So it's not a structured sweater. So if you had pieces that you had sewn together, you get a little reinforcement or stabilization just from even just the seams being there on the shoulders and at the neck. Because this isn't pieced, it isn't sewn together, it's knit as one, you don't have that. And the weight of the fiber in this sweater just kind of pulls down even further on it. So what I did was I don't know if you can see that along here. It almost looks like an I-cord, but it's not. So what that is the stabilization done with the same yarn that I made it out of, crocheted across the neck. So I didn't do the button bands. I left those alone, but I started right here, and I picked up stitches all the way across and just crocheted a chain all the way across. Now I didn't do it tightly or snugly or with tight tension, just fairly normal. And what it does is so the rest of the sweater stretches like this. The neck doesn't stretch at all. So now when I put it on, it's got this stability in the neck. It does, however, really make the neck highlighted, I guess, for lack of a better word. It really identifies the neck. And I think it's just because this is right on the seam here. So let me put it on. I don't know how it's going to look over my hockey jersey, but we'll try. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that, but there is a honky-tonk across the street from our house. And I can hear the bass player warming up. They're playing out on the patio today. So, voila! Look at this. Look how nicely this lays on my neck now. The raglans fall in the right place. They're not falling forward. They're not falling backwards. They're kind of sitting in the right place. It's not falling off my shoulders. It's amazing. That stabilization of the neck was all it took to keep it from dragging down and pulling on my shoulders. I'm so happy with it, honestly. I wish I had done it sooner. I have the hiccups right now, sorry. I wish I'd done it sooner. I wish I'd thought about it sooner. I don't know why it didn't occur to me. I think I might have been watching a podcast and they talked about reinforcing or stabilizing a neck, and I thought, well, maybe that's what my cardigan needs. Look at it. Look how much better it looks. Now, I will say I'm going to probably change the buttons. These are coconut shell buttons, and they're really cute. They have like a flower design on them. It's like the laser etching on it, and they're really pretty, but they contrast a lot, and they're really the wrong look I'm going for. I wanted a sweater that I could wear with, say, a pencil skirt and a camisole to work, and look fairly, dressy in the wintertime, spring, I guess, fall, winter, and spring. And maybe even to keep in my office when it's flippin' freezing in there in the summertime. But the buttons just make it look a little too grandma-ish, if you know what I mean. It just looks a little bit like I just pulled it out of grandma's closet. I don't know. It's not really, it's too casual, I think, is the big thing. So what I want to do, I think, is change out the buttons with, those, like 1950s twin sets. The cardigan and the little sweater underneath. And very often they had these clear glass, look like crystal almost, buttons to kind of dress it up a little bit. I don't want like pearl buttons. I don't want mother pearl. I think that's, again, not really the look I'm going for. I think those pretty, really pretty, just clear glass, kind of cut crystal kind of looking buttons will, first of all, they'll disappear a little bit more into the sweater. They won't have that contrast, and I just think they'll dress it up a little bit. And so I'll be able to wear it casual, but I'll also be able to wear it, more dress for work. So I'm really happy with the way, sorry, there goes more motorcycles, with the way the neck is now and how nicely it lays. You can see how it really defines the neckline now with that in there, but I don't really care. So this sweater, the only thing about this is this fiber, this silk, mohair, and merino, along with being heavy, it has orangutan hair. I mean, the pilling on this sweater, look at this. Look at this. That's orangutan hair. The pilling on this sweater is flipping insane. I never wear this thing. And this thing, look at all that fiber. How is there going to even be any sweater left in a year? So it's got this orangutan hair that just is constantly pilling. And that's the only other thing that keeps me from wanting to keep this sweater. I mean, maybe I'll change the buttons, maybe I won't. I don't know. This was a good learning lesson, right? So if nothing else, I learned about stabilizing a collar, and it's going to benefit just any future sweater I make. I might even do it just as a matter of part of the process, of finishing process, is I may, when I make a cardigan, I may just always stabilize the neck. If I do one like this, that's just kind of a yoked cardigan, raglan, I may do this again, just because it's instantly successful. And took me 5 minutes to do it. I don't know. The jury's still out. We shall see. I mean, can you see? Look at that. It's like orangutan hair. Come on, really? I will not buy that yarn again. I got it from a company that has had to, since, I think because the supply chain has had to, my hair, wind is blowing it, has had to kind of suspend part of their, I think their company does a couple different things, like dyes, yarn bases, they do boxes, monthly yarn subscriptions. So I think because of supply chain, they just decided to just suspend selling the yarn bases for a while. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to buy, at least not that one again. I think the line was called Elegance or something like that, and it's very pretty. I mean, it has such a nice sheen. I don't know if you can see it there, but it really has a really nice sheen and a nice drape to it. So it's a nice dressy sweater, and it's warm. It's great for wintertime or summertime in a freezing cold office like mine. But because of the shedding it does, I cannot, like, it's probably all over me. Oh yeah, look, can you see that? I'm going to need to take the lint roller to this because I'm wearing orangutan hair. Orangutan? 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 I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably going to have to use a lint roller because it sheds like crazy. So the jury is still out on that one. All right, so next. So today, like I said, is June 26th in northern Colorado. We had a beautiful spring. It was a nice cool spring, not super hot. Then we had instant summer, and we went like literally right to in the 90s. I think we might have even had 100 day or a couple 100 days. And I just got so tired of knitting on big things. I don't know about you guys. I typically don't mind knitting in the summertime. It doesn't bother me typically, but for whatever reason this year, and maybe it's just because of the size of my big project that I'm working on is so big, and it's a yarn that is so cozy that I just didn't. Do you hear the dogs now? Like, this is maybe not going to happen very often. Recording outside. That's the neighbor dogs. They bark all the time. But I just did not want anything big and heavy in my lap. So I've switched it up, and I've been working on smaller projects and really enjoying these small projects. And in a way, it's helpful because I'm getting some things done that that might have taken a little longer to get done. So let me just stop there and let's just find the words because words are failing me right now. Let's talk about the one that's in timeout, but it's not in timeout because it's naughty. It's not in timeout because I'm unhappy with it. It's literally just in timeout because it's too hot. So, do you remember the circle cardigan? And it looks like Siorcal. I think it's Irish or Gaelic or something. So this is in Nutidin yarn, and I am holding it double. Nutidin. I don't know how you pronounce it. Really? That was a car. I did say I live across the street from a honky tonk, right? Anyway, so I am like 2/3 of the way through this. Look how big this is. This is so big. And because it's made out of this pre-yarn, this basically pencil roving, and it is 100% Swedish yarn, it is, or pre-yarn, roving, we'll call it roving. It is so cozy. But because of that, this thing, when I'm sitting here knitting in the house, typically, it's very warm in my lap. And while normally that doesn't bother me, for whatever reason this year, it's been too warm and it's really been bothering me. So I decided we're going to put it in timeout. Now, where are we at on this sweater right now? There are my 2 armholes. There's one there. There's one here. Used waste yarn and put that right where the armholes are going to be. And then when you're ready to put the sleeves on, you undo those and pick up stitches. So that'll be the last thing I do. And I like to do my sleeves 2 at a time magic loops, so they're identical. There will not be anything different about the 2 sleeves. And they'll finish super fast. I have the whole main part of the back done. And I'm on the ribbing that's basically the front and neck and bottom. I'll maybe put a picture either here or here so you can see what the sweater looks like. But the ribbing goes all the way around. It's knit as one big circle. You see that? With the sleeves at the top. So that's where this is the shoulder basically. And so it's beautiful. It's a beautiful finished, when it's finished, it's a beautiful sweater. And I actually can't wait to add it to my wardrobe this year. But it's just a little too warm right now to be knitting on this, so it's in a temporary timeout, shall we say. I will add this. I am a swatcher. I firmly believe in swatching. I think you are wasting your time as a knitter if you do not swatch, because I can't even think of how many times a sweater, when my kids were younger and I was first getting into knitting garments, how many times I knit them something and it didn't fit. It was either too big, too small, and I never bothered to swatch. I was like, why swatch? I 100% think swatching is vital. That said, and it's vital to make sure that when you're finished knitting this and it's knit to the size it's supposed to be, it will fit. If you're knitting to the right gauge, it'll fit. And that's because you checked your gauge with a swatch and made sure that you were knitting to the right gauge, either going up a needle size down, going a size up, or going down a needle size, or maybe your gauge is spot on. Typically, when I knit, I was just bit by a bug. Typically, when I knit circular knitting, I knit more tight. And because of the Nutiden being, the nature of it, that it's a roving, it pulls apart super, super easily. And because of that, you have to have a very light hand and knit, barely providing any tension to the roving when you're knitting with it. So that said, I feel like my gauge is probably going to be a lot looser as a result. So while I'm knitting in the round, and I typically have to go up a needle size because it's a little snugger, because of the way I'm having to hold the yarn, I feel like it's probably more on gauge. The pattern says you start with, do you see that? You start out, you cast on you make this little circle. And you can either do it with double points, and I think I might have done it magic loop. And then you just kind of you go from there, and you're knitting around, and you're just making it bigger and bigger. And so you can kind of see, actually, hopefully that'll come out with blocking. That's when I switched from, I think I was using 16. So I did this with magic loop, and you can kind of see when I went to the 16. Was I with the 16 then? I can't remember. I don't remember why it has this little circle. But that's where you start. And then right here I can tell that's where I went from the 16 to the 24. And then I don't think you can see, I literally have Frankensteined these ChiaoGoo interchangeables. I think there might be two. I think in here there might be 2 joins and every cable that it comes with, because this is huge. But the pattern says to basically, do like this much as your swatch. And it's knitted in the pattern with Nutiden. If you've ever knit with Nutiden, you can sort of tink if you're very careful. You cannot rip it. You cannot frog it. So the thought of getting that far into the sweater and then having to potentially tink it or frog it so that I can start again with a different size needle, you can't do it with Nutiden. It pulls apart. It would have been a fibery mess because all the fibers would have come apart. So I was like, okay, Hail Mary, fingers crossed, maybe this is going to work. I have not measured the gauge yet. It's a little bit of a ostrich putting their head in the sand. I am just hoping and praying that this fits me when it's done. If it doesn't fit me, it is going to be a very nice gift for a very lucky person. But I'm thinking it's going to fit. I really think that this is going to be okay, especially once I block it. I think it'll be okay. So this is in timeout. Excuse the crinkle sounds. And the cars. And the Harley Davidsons. And the dogs. And the wind. Okay. So I put that down in favor of smaller, lighter projects. And you could call this either a lot of finished objects or one half finished object, one big half finished object. I have gone back to my little crochet squares. I have done this many in I want to say it's been, when did I start these? 2 weeks ago? Now you can hear somebody's phone ringing. Do people still have house phones? So I've crocheted this many in 2 weeks. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I have 30 of them. And that's just 2 weeks. And the great thing about this is when I'm sitting there watching TV in the evening, I can just grab my little, look how tiny, I mean, this teeny tiny little bag is all I need to make this project. And that's one of the things about these little squares. They're so satisfying because I get out of a 10-gram ball, I'll get 2 of them and I'll have like a little nugget left. Sometimes I keep the little nugget, sometimes I don't. I get rid of it. There's just not enough to do anything with the teeny tiny nugget I have left. So sometimes I throw it away. Probably what I should do is save it for the birds for the winter time when they're building nests. I gotta think about that. But I can get 2 of these and I can do, in an evening sitting on the couch, I can get 2 of these per ball. And I can do usually 4, sometimes 6 in an evening, depending on when I sit down. And I have quite literally this big basket filled with, well, it's got my color wheel. And it does have some little pouches for project bags, but it's filled with yarn balls. I have enough minis here to do a blanket and then some. So let's put the color wheel back. So, you know, a scrappy blanket's a bit of a train wreck anyway, right? Let's be real. So I could get 3 of those little balls in here and I can take it anywhere I want with me. Typically this just sits next to my couch. I'm just using a hook size E. And this is just like a Michael's Joann Fabrics kind of inexpensive aluminum hook. I don't have really nice hooks, partly because I'm really not super into crochet. I do it obviously, but I'm not super into it, so haven't really invested in any really nice hooks. And this works fine. So I use this. Literally, this is all that's in here. A hook and some yarn. I think that's one of the beautiful things about a crochet project. Like, you don't need a ton of notions unless you're doing something super fancy. You don't need a ton of notions. Some yarn and a hook. And so there's 3 balls of yarn and a hook in there. I can zip it up. This is a cute little bag that a friend of mine gave me. And I can put this, I lost my sunlight. Oh, shoot. You've probably been watching those clouds building behind me. We better speed this up. Yeah, so, you know, this sits next to my couch. I can stick it in my purse. I can, you know, it's a fantastic small project to be able to do anywhere. And with crochet, you don't have to worry about dropping stitches because they stay right there. Like when you're done, you pull the hook out, you make a long loop on the end, you pull the hook out, you don't have to worry about it. And even if you lose a few stitches, big deal. They're easy to fix again. So that is super satisfying, and I will say that is a half finished object because I have about half the squares I need. I had my husband do the math. I had 11 square yards of squares just based on the size they are, and then multiply them. And I was like, yes, I have 11 square yards. I am so ready to put this blanket together. And then I measured an Afghan that we have that I really like. And I went, well, gosh darn it. It's like 22 or 24 square yards, you know, when you do length times width. And I was, okay, so I'm only halfway there. But that's okay, because these are great working on these is great for the summer. They're very portable, very easy to do. I can almost do them in my sleep, and they're very satisfying. So I'll just keep cranking these out this summer, and then maybe by the fall, I'll have enough to put together my blanket. I'm not sure, I wish I could, I'm not sure if I'm going to do them like this, and then do the, what is that called? Ripple or chevron kind of, and have them all be diamonds, diamonds all connected and stacked on each other, or if I'm going to do them square and then just, either way, I'm going to do some kind of border around them. I'm not just going to sew them together where you don't see any kind of border. Scrappy blankets are already a freaking train wreck as it is, because all the crazy colors that get, thrown together. So I want to do some kind of unifying neutral of some kind. Don't want black, don't want white. It's probably going to be some kind of gray, but what kind of gray to unify all the colors together and use that as my base color, basically, that I will use to crochet all the squares together and have as a border around it. I'm just not sure what that color is going to be yet, so stay tuned. If you have ideas, put it in the comments below. Okay, so now let's get to the sock portion of this, because there's always a sock portion, right? I am, after all, a sock knitter. If you follow me on Instagram, then you saw these recently, and I'll put them on the sock blocker so I'm sitting at a patio table, so hence the metallic sound. I'll put them both on a sock blocker. I use these sock blockers every time I wash my socks. They go in the washing machine with my clothes, but then I take them out and I hang them to dry on the sock blockers. You just end up with a nicer finish to your socks, and they lay nicely in your drawer. So here are the socks. Let's see, do it this way. This is just a plain vanilla sock, shorty sock, obviously. This is a 1.5 inch ribbing. You can either 1x1 or 2x2 or whatever. This one is 2x2. Very frequently I do 1x1, just however the spirit moves me. And then I do 20 rows of stockinette, and I do 2 socks magic loop, 2 at the same time magic loop, and I use a 40-inch needle. Sometimes I use a 37-inch needle. That's the cable length. Just depends on what I've got available. Anyway, so it's 1.5 inches of ribbing, and then 20 inches of stockinette, and then I do my German short row heel. And you can, with this yarn, oh, it smells so good because I used Eucalan to wash it, the jasmine one. Or is it Eucalan? 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 How do you say it? Oh my God, it smells so good. Anyway, so after you do your 20 rows, and then you work on the heel one at a time. So you can't work at the heels 2 at a time. You can do the toes 2 at a time. You do the feet 2 at a time. You can do the cuffs and the leg, but you can't do the heels 2 at a time. You have to do those 1 at a time. So when you stop and then work on your heel and then start back down on the foot, normally you don't notice that, but with this yarn, because it's hand painted, you totally see a line on both socks. That's like right where your foot and it's like right the top of your ankle, like where your instep and your leg meet. That's where this falls. So you don't really notice it. This yarn I got this when I was on vacation, but it's a German yarn. I got it in Montana. It's a German yarn, and I cannot pronounce the name, so I'll put it down below right on the screen here. It's toothier than any yarn I've ever used for sock yarn. It's a superwash yarn. And I think what they do is they make it, like, machine knit it into blanks and then paint it with dye. And then when you get it, it's in a ball, but the yarn's all curly as if it had been unraveled. So I think what they do is they make blanks, they paint them, then they unravel them and wind them into balls. They're really pretty. They're really interesting looking because of that. There's nothing wrong with knitting with them all wrinkly, all kind of crimpy like that. It's perfectly fine, and it blocks perfectly fine, and it doesn't fit any differently. And so I think what happened is when I knit it, like, it basically went back into the blank, because it totally looks like hand painted yarn, except here when I did my German short row heel and where I did the toe, you get this cool little striping effect with, I think that's kind of cool too. But so I divide the ball into 2, so it's a 100-gram ball. I divide into 2 50-gram balls and then work from that. And so they're not identical. They look like cousins, maybe sisters, but they're not identical twins. pretty close. I mean, that this white area's in almost the same exact place. Green is almost the same. Yeah, so really happy with these. We'll see how they feel on because they are a little bit toothier. I'm not sure if they're going to be a little bit scratchy on my feet or not. I have pretty sensitive feet, so I'm not sure how they're going to feel when I wear them, but I have a feeling they're going to be really cozy. I actually have a feeling I'm going to like them a lot, and they're going to probably be some of my favorite socks. So, made those just plain vanilla sock, and I have been teasing you guys with the last couple episodes. I've been teasing you with the sock pattern. And I will tell you right now, I'm probably never releasing the sock pattern. And there's a couple reasons why. The main reason why is I'm not a pattern designer. I don't have the time. I can't quit my job and do it full time. I just can't afford that. And I just feel like so it's much like my cooking. So I can cook beautifully from a recipe. I'm a good cook. I do a great job. And I know just enough about ingredients and how to put them together and how they're going to taste together and how to maybe tweak recipes a little bit to, make something that's the same recipe, only elevated. And I would say, wait for the motorcycle, I would say the same is true of my knitting. I don't really know enough about the mechanics of stitches, the physics of putting them together, and nor do I have the desire really to learn that so that I can design. Construction, same thing. I know sock construction inside out. Garment construction, I don't really know, and I don't really want to know. I can follow a pattern beautifully. I can, in some cases, modify a pattern to be better fit for me, but I don't have enough knowledge. I mean, I've been knitting a long time, 25, 24 years, something like that. I don't think the aptitude and the skill set, the mastery to get into designing. That said, I did design these, but it was really simple, and I'm going to give it to you right now. You're welcome. So it's just a plain vanilla sock. This is in Hue Loco. I think the color is ash. It's the Phyllis sock. And oh, the wind is blowing the camera. It's blowing the iPad. Don't rain yet. I'm almost done, I swear. Just give me like 5 more minutes. It's just a plain vanilla sock, just like all my other socks. This one's a shorty. And the inspiration for this was a pair of athletic socks my husband has. They're like Nike or Adidas or something like that. And I was like, wow, I could probably do something like that. And so I was like, I'll just do my plain vanilla shorty and just modify it. So I have called these Finish Line. Now, keep in mind, these are not going to be a released pattern. So I'm about to tell you the recipe for how to make this. Feel free to go ahead and make them your own. Here we go. I have made a man's size and a women's size. These are my size, women's size. Do you see that stripe? Looks like a racing stripe. That is just a purl, a knit, and a purl. Now you could to make it wider, you could do 2 purls, 2 knits, 2 purls. And then it would be, this wide going up the foot. So I knit my cuff this is top down, knit my cuff, started knitting in the round. As soon as I started that first row, I started the pattern. And so this is one of my hairs knitted into it. So you can see along here the line for the between the sole and you can tell because that's where the heel starts, and that's halfway along the toe. And actually you can see my woven in end right there. So these are the instep stitches, and these are the sole and heel stitches. So what I did is I took the instep stitches, and I'll take it off here to show you. I'll take this one off. This band that's playing right now over at the Honky Tonk, they play the frickin' same music every Sunday. They need to improve their set list. Okay, so I took the instep, I don't know if you can see this, and I divided it into thirds. So this stripe comes down the outer third of your foot, so right or left. So they're not identical twins, they're fraternal twins, because the stripe is symmetrical. In other words, it's not in the same place on both socks. It's mirrored. It's a mirror image. Let's see if I can show you. I mean, they're playing surf music right now, which is pretty cool, but they play it every weekend. The same songs. And you can hear it clear as a bell over here. So do you see how the stripes are on the outer third on the instep on each sock? So rather than going straight down the center, which is boring, and certainly not going down the side, because that would end up on the side of your foot and you'd never see it. I mean, surely you're not going to see it anyway inside a pair of shoes, but when you're walking around the house in your socks, you have this really cool racing stripe that just goes down the outer third of your top of your foot, your instep. That's a little stretch just from blocking, but isn't that cool? Like, I came up with that, my own little brain came up with that. And I was going to do a pattern, and seriously, it's just a plain vanilla sock with a little stripe figured into it. Anybody can figure that out. I want you to go ahead and enjoy making these, and I strongly encourage you to modify it however you want to modify it. If you want to do stripes like that, like all across the instep, that might look cool too, which is basically just a ribbing, right? So I don't know how they would fit ribbing on the top and stocking it out on the bottom. Might look kind of cool, I don't know. So this is the finish line sock. I always do a German short row heel because I love that you don't really end up with holes where the corner of the, you don't end up with holes here, right where the corner of the heel meets the foot. You can get that with heel flap and gusset and with some other heels, but you don't usually get that with a German short row. And German short rows knit up really fast, and they're easy, and they're almost mindless. I like how they fit more than anything. I like how they fit. And you can see this one's great. This sock's great. No problems here. Looks good. No holes. I mean, you can see where the end of the heel is, but that's not a hole. Then I think I was on sock number 2. I can't remember. I was 3/4 of the way. No, I was almost finished the heel. I must have been almost finished the heel. And I dropped the very first double stitch. Now, if you make German short row heels, you know that you do a double stitch as part of the process. Marks where your short row starts and ends. And, oh, low battery. We're going to wrap this up. I dropped the first double stitch that I did on the heel when I was finishing the heel. When you drop a double stitch, so a double stitch is basically a slip stitch that you wrap tight around the needle. So it's got this extra tension on it, and when you drop that stitch, it's like a spring being unsprung, and you lose all that tension. I, for the life of me, could not figure out how to get that tension back on, like pick that stitch back up and get that tension on. So I had 2 choices. One, unravel the entire heel. Not a huge deal, but big enough deal that I didn't want to do it. And the other, well, it's a design element and you just keep on going. Guess which one I chose. So here you'll see perfectly lovely heel No holes. You can see there where they meet, but there are no holes there till I turn it around. Look at that gosh darn hole. Do you see that? Do you see how big that is? It's like 2 holes because the stitch unrolled basically. And now I could have sewn it up, and I still could sew it up with some of the scrap gray yarn. I was like, screw it, it's going to be inside my shoe, right? Who's going to see it? And when my shoes are off my feet, who cares? Nobody's going to notice it. I'm the one who knows it's there. It does irritate me a little bit, but it is what it is. So these are the finish line. Make them and wear them in good health. Maybe just tag me if you make them so that I can see them. I am the Pearled Nest on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. Okay. Because my battery's almost dead on my iPad, because this is the 3rd time I've recorded this, the last thing I'll show you is gotta have some socks on the go, right? Ta-da! So this is going to be obviously cast on yet, and I'm not sure, they'll probably be plain vanilla just because that's how we roll. But this is self-striping yarn, and I can't remember, I got this a few years ago in a raffle at our knit night from our local yarn shop. I think it's lollipop yarn, but don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure. It is fingering weight, it is self-striping, and it's beautifully self-striped. And I actually, so these are 2 50-gram balls, and they were almost perfect for starting in the same place. This one just had a little bit, had like 1 additional section of the pink. And so when I wound it all up, I just didn't wind up that pink section. I pulled it off, and these will be identical socks. They'll start in exactly the same place. This is going to be cool to watch this take shape. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do toe up or cuff down. I don't know if I'll try. I've never done toe up. I'm not sure I'll try it with this particular yarn just because I'm really excited about watching these knit up identically. So I'll probably do cuff down, but if I do try toe up, I mean, I could try to do that. Either way, you know, you're going to see them on here. I'm going to be sharing them. You're going to see them, whether you like it or not. You can always hit fast forward. So this is going to be the next pair of socks. And they typically go in this cute little bag. I am not a knitting master, but I play one on television. So this typically goes right into my purse. I have a big purse, goes right into my purse, and it is my to-go project. So that's all I have for you guys. I think it's about to rain, and we need the rain really badly in Colorado. The hens are out and about right now because the sun has gone in, so they're out and about right now. There's some live music playing across the street. The weather is beautiful, and the Avs are playing tonight, and man, I hope they win tonight. Okay, it's actually starting to rain, and my battery's almost dead, so we're going to call it quits here. Thank you so much for watching. If you got all the way to the end, yes, thank you so much. Let's go Avs. And if you do like this video and other videos, please do click like down below because that does help with the reach of the videos. If you enjoy the channel, then if you wouldn't mind clicking subscribe and ring the little bell, it'll notify you when I post new videos. Thank you to new viewers, and thank you so much to returning viewers. So glad you're here. Bye.
the left side of the river here. So just kind of as you walk toward that corner, you'll be able to see them to the left.